Next, we're going to look at Signals. And Signals is very similar to Radar, but it is more security focused. And so, depending on what security tools you have in your stack, you may be getting alerts and notifications in your email from a variety of sources, whether it's Microsoft Defender, CISA, K12.6, KnowBe4, Cybernut, any of those kinds of places that are sending you security notifications. We've, in the past, in our district, worked on sending those directly to our ticketing system so we can be sure that somebody sees it. However, that really clogs the ticket system, especially when there's a high number of false positives or other things that just kind of bloat that system. And so to help alleviate that, we made Signals, and similar to Radar, it works by setting up an email address in your configuration that works as a place to send these signals to. So anything that gets sent to alerts@edtechirlacademy.net is going to show up on this Signals page. And so we set it up to be a notification address for all these kinds of regular security alerts, whether it's from your SIM, your EDR, MDR, whatever the case may be. And so just a few things. Once it shows up in this queue, you can see them. They come in, first out. So our oldest ones are at the bottom. And we've got a variety of things here. So notice most are security, but this one, this is a disk usage alert. So if you have any kind of like system monitoring, network monitoring, you could also have things that are like, network outages could come here, or if your NAS is having some kind of issue, or if you have alerts set up for security vulnerability notifications, they can come here and get them out of your mailbox. So I'm just going to pick one of our signals, and from here, there's a variety of things you can do. The two main actions are acknowledge and dismiss. And so acknowledge is basically where you'll click and you'll say like, okay, I've seen this, I acknowledge it, I know it exists. And it may not require action, just requires that you say, hey, I saw it, acknowledge it's a real issue, but for whatever reason, it doesn't need anything done to it. Dismiss is very similar, and really just depending on your own individual workflows, you may use either acknowledge, dismiss, or both. We just want to have that opportunity there for you to have that differentiation if you wanted. But dismiss is really like where what I had in mind was false positives. So if there's an alert that comes in and you look at it and triage it and it turns out that it's not actually a security issue, you can just click dismiss. Similar to acknowledge, it just pops up with this dialog box where you can fill in a note. That way anyone that comes back and looks at it later, whether it's someone else or it's future you can have a note saying what your rationale was when you dismissed it or you acknowledged it. Contrary to that, if you decide that you do want to elevate this to something that needs action taken on it, you can either convert it to a ticket. So say, for example, if it was a NAS firmware update alert, you could convert to a ticket, assign it to one of your technicians, your sysadmin, whoever handles that, and it will go to the ticket queue for them. You can add notes, convert to ticket, and go that route. If it's a security incident, you can convert to incident, and the next video is going to be on the incident log, and so we'll go into more detail there. But convert to incident will take it, you can add a note, and it will create a new incident for that in the incident tab at the top of your navigation. But again, we'll go into incidents on the next video. Additionally, you can create a rule. And so in my district in particular, there are a lot of notifications that we get that don't require any action. We're going to acknowledge or dismiss them every time. It could just be something saying like a nightly update on a server happened without problem. So you can create a rule where you could tell it to auto acknowledge anything that meets certain criteria. Or you could have it auto convert to a ticket if it meets specific criteria, or convert to an incident. So a variety of options that you can do automatically to keep your signals from bloating. So for us, for example, we have a lot of things that happen every night or once a week that don't really require us to see it if everything went well. So we can say, if it's our backups and it says all backups were successful, we could say if it's from our backup system and the subject contains backup successful, we could have it auto acknowledge, and it would create that rule. And as soon as that notification comes into Signals, it would automatically be acknowledged, and it never bloats the view. But if we wanted to go back and see it, we could see it in the archive of the Signals by just looking at actioned or all. And so that will help kind of keep track of those. So you still have it for historical value, but you don't necessarily have to see it every day. So back into signals, if we look at a specific signal, there are a few things you can do from inside in addition to acknowledging. One is you can brief me, and we'll do brief me in just a second. But as you can tell by now, if you've been watching the videos in order, I love the brief me feature, and we've put this just about anywhere that we can to help simplify your life when you're trying to triage or manage a lot of emails, incidents, tickets, whatever the case may be. Additionally, one other thing, I've mentioned before that the single pane of glass is one of those marketing buzzwords that I really, really hate, but we've really strived to make Support Studio a single pane of glass anywhere we can. So for example, if on a normal day I were triaging this alert, I would get this, tagged, whatever reason, whatever security notification comes across, and it has IP addresses in it. It could be unfamiliar sign-in location for a user. It could be any number of things. And what I would traditionally do is I would copy that IP address. I would go to Google. I would go to an IP lookup site. I would paste that IP address in. I would look it up. I would copy the details. I would go back to my ticket system, and lots of copy and paste, lots of juggling. Here we've built in an IP reputation lookup. And so we're using Abuse IP database and IP info lookup for this. So we have an API connection to those tools. And so for any signal, we can just say look up IPs, and it's going to extract and look up the IPs from that ticket, from that signal, and tell us the details about it. So it's going to tell us whether it has an existing risk score. It's going to tag what country it's from. It's going to tell us the ASN number for the specific provider. So we have trouble sometimes where we'll have a specific ASN that is sending a lot of phishing emails for us or to us. And so this can kind of help speed up that investigation. So I'm not having to take 3 or 4 steps to get to that ASN number. So to try to simplify that. And then it also links to existing Abuse IPDB reports for those addresses if they exist. And so that's just one step that we took to try to make it easier to identify those things inside of the signal without having to go outside of the system. And now once we've done the lookup for those IPs, we can go to Brief Me. And Brief Me is going to take the details from this signal, and it's going to give you a summary. So it's going to tell us Mimecast blocked 17 inbound messages from flagged sender IPs due to spam and phishing threats. No messages were delivered to users. It gives us the key facts, rationale, and urgency. And if there's anything that we need to do further, it's going to give us suggestions for that. And so that's how Brief Me works inside of Signals. And that's really how Signals works kind of holistically. There are a few other things that you can tweak by creating sources. So for example, when you set up your individual notifications, you can create a source tag for them so that anytime something comes from one of those sources, then it's automatically going to be tagged. So we can see here, these are tagged by source. If you've not created a source for it, it's going to just be blank like that. So I really should go back and create a source for this one. But that's going to help you to be able to search by tag. So if we only wanted to look at, say, KnowBe4, or we only wanted to look at Cybernut or CISA, it's going to give us that ability to do that pretty quickly. And then rules, when we created the rules back in Signals, so if we went to create a rule from this, that rule is going to show up here under rules. And so you can see and manage all of your rules in one place. And if you need to go back and tweak them, we've had some cases where we've maybe not created the rule with enough refinement to catch exactly what we want, how we want it. And so we might have to go in, edit the rule, and tweak maybe something the subject contains or something that is in the description. But in a nutshell, that is Signals and how Signals works. And its whole goal is to remove clutter from your email and from your ticket system, but keep security signals in a place where you can see them visually in one dashboard and take action on them quickly and efficiently. And then in the next video, we'll be looking at what happens when you promote a signal to an incident in the incident tag when it goes to the incident log. And so that's what's coming up next.